Welcome back. We're continuing our conversation about the state of the housing market in Boston and beyond. Joining me now is Boston City Councilor Ruth Z. Louis-Zhen and Jesse Kansan-Beninoff, the Executive Director of Abundant Housing, Massachusetts. Ruth Z., let's start with what's at risk to the city when lower to middle income households are priced out. You know, it impacts many things, neighborhoods and businesses who aren't currently in the real estate market, of course. You know, what does it mean for our neighborhoods?
Well, Karen, what we lose is we lose our neighbors. We lose people who have grown up in our city and want to make Boston a home but can't afford to do so because of how unaffordable the market is and because of the role of speculation in our market. So we lose our neighbors, we lose our middle class, we lose our working class families who really hold up the city and want to really raise their families, raise their children in the neighborhoods that they know. We have a city that is increasingly unequal, and we have to do everything we can to retain them by making affordable homeownership a reality.
And it's historically Black and Latino neighborhoods hardest, doesn't it?
Exactly. Right now what we're seeing is those markets, we have investors who come into the neighborhoods and want to buy properties, and really our Black and brown families can't compete with cash offers and can't compete with the housing prices right now. And so what you're seeing is you see families, once they want to buy, they're moving out to other parts of Massachusetts, to Brockton, to other areas, to Randolph, where, number one, maybe they're more familiar with the areas, but it's places where they're actually able to afford a home with a backyard, because we aren't doing enough here in our city.
And we shouldn't say it's just not Black and brown, because it's happening in Chinatown too.
Oh, yes.
Jesse, I'm going to turn to you. There's been some improvement when it comes to the obstacle of parking minimums for affordable housing. If you could talk about that for affordable housing development in Boston. Have you seen any improvement in that area?
Yeah, one of the things that we did last year, it was advocated for by Councilor Kenzie Bach and former Councilor Matt O'Malley, and ultimately signed by Mayor Wu right around Christmas last year, was eliminating the requirement for on-site parking for new affordable housing in the city of Boston. The problem with parking in new developments, particularly in affordable developments, is that it adds substantial cost to the cost of building that development. It also requires a special zoning variance or approval from the city's Zoning Board of Appeals to not have to do as much parking as is required. Studies have shown that new developments in the Boston area don't actually need as much parking as is required to be built. So developers in places like Jamaica Plain and Dorchester have requested not to do parking or not to do as much parking, but because they have to seek a variance from the underlying zoning, they've faced lawsuits from bad faith sort of NIMBY, not in my backyard neighbors. And so it's a very new policy change in the city. You know, I can't say that we've seen a huge impact yet. It's only been a few months, but there's a number of developments every year that, you know, incorporate hundreds of units across the city that could be impacted, that could come online, be available for occupancy sooner.
If they didn't require parking.
If they didn't require parking.
Let's talk about the change in restrictions to local zoning, which has been an obstacle, as you said, to building more homes. But now there's a new multi-family zoning requirement for the MBTA communities law. What does this law do, and why is it facing backlash? And is this part of the NIMBY process?
Well, this is such an important law. The legislature passed it in early 2021, and the governor signed it soon after that. It requires 175 communities in eastern and into central Massachusetts, 175 communities with MBTA service or near MBTA service to have at least one zoning district where multifamily housing is allowed to be built by right. So this means that communities throughout the region which have very restrictive zoning that only allow, at this point, luxury single-family homes to be built, now will have to allow a variety of types of buildings, triple deckers, small apartment buildings, other types of housing choices like that, to be built near transit. It's really important because we have such a deficit of homes.
But there's always been backlash to this. We talked NIMBY, not in my backyard.
Yeah.
Some of these areas are resisting building this kind of housing, right?
Yeah, for a lot of communities for many years, restricting what can be built to just single-family homes has been a way that they've controlled who has access to their community. And that meant that we have these towns throughout eastern Massachusetts that are 95% white, that are overwhelmingly homeowners with luxury single-family homes, and people who don't have the ability or the purchasing power to occupy that type of home can't live there. It leaves black and brown families out of the opportunities that are available in many of these elite suburbs.
And the argument those suburban communities would make is that housing would bring their property values down, but that's not necessarily the case. It's a kind of a scare tactic. Ruth Z, I want to come back to you. What steps is the Boston City Council taking to alleviate this issue? And where does the housing crisis sit on the list of priorities in the Boston City Council?
That's an excellent question. You know, it is top priority for us on City Council because it's an issue that matters most to so many of our residents. You know, we're centering equity in all of the work that we're doing. And equity is about taking that corrective action for the wrongs that we've done as a city when it comes to redlining that really prevented black and brown families from accessing loans and mortgages. When it comes to block busting, those fear-mongering tactics that, you know, caused folks to undersell their homes and then they were sold above market to black and brown families. We, as a city council, have a responsibility to use our operating budget, to use our ARPA funds to really target home ownership. So alongside the mayor proposed $106 million going towards affordable home ownership. That means surveying and auditing city-owned land and city-owned parcels to see where we can be building for affordable home ownership so that our families, our working class families, our black and brown families that want to make affordable, want to be able to buy affordably can do so in Hyde Park, in Mattapan, in Dorchester, in Chinatown, in the neighborhoods that they know. And so it's our responsibility to use our tax dollars to really say that this is what we value. We value a city where the people who live here are able to buy homes. You know, half of our people who rent in the city of Boston, more than half of them are rent burdened, who could be homeowners if we are providing affordable and sustainable home ownership opportunities. That means helping people with down payment. That means expanding our One Plus Boston program, which provides affordable and sustainable mortgages to working class families. It's possible as long as we put the political will there and our dollars there as well.
All right, there's so much to be done. We've addressed the challenges to buying a home in Greater Boston. Next, the help available to home buyers. That's when CityLine continues.